For Maaza, Almagthob, first time in Nigeria, UR3 brought an Emirati. That means someday UR3 will what? Bring Steve Harvey and bring Oprah Winfrey and bring Will Smith. Please, UR3, give Maaza UR3 welcome. You know, I tell people one of the things I say a lot these days, I tell my sons every time, I say I don't have shame. So my shame has been buried in the sea of forgetfulness. Yes, because when you learn how to die, death no longer becomes a threat. When you learn how to say what's the worst that can happen, like my people will say, all die not die. Choose your die. So let me choose my die, dying while walking, than dying static. Let me try and let it be like I failed trying than I didn't try at all. And that's what UR3 is about. Maaza, do you have your mic? That's your mic. It's a bit unscripted like we talked about, but Maaza has, I'll let you tell that story and let's connect it to the topic and let's impact the people. Please go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's really an honor. Thank you, Linda, because I believe because of you, I know Steph now. And
we found out yesterday that we're birthday mates.
So far, it's really very interesting and very great experience. Everybody is very friendly, and this is the thing which I will take back home with me. My story, it's a little bit interesting when it comes to, I like to say there is a lot of stations in the journey, and I like to call it journey because I believe everyone living their own journey. And sometimes we got off the track and we focus on everybody's journey and forget about our own. And I remember once I was doing a training, and in the training they said, if your why is not big enough, if your why didn't make you cry, it's not big enough. And I was like, why I'm doing what I'm doing? And I needed to go deep and check. And the training was teaching us to do that for 7 times. You ask yourself why. And when I connected with my why I'm doing this, I found that most of my life, I grew up and I had some experiences in my life where I didn't have a choice. So when my mom and dad get divorced, I didn't have a choice. When I left my actual country, so my root is from Sudan, my dad is Sudanese, and I didn't have a choice to change countries. I didn't have a choice when some politicals happened and I couldn't finish my studies at that time. And now I want to live a life on my terms. I want to live a life having full choice of what I'm doing. So the person in front of you now that have a big smile on her face, and in my work, for example, they call me the queen of positivity. I used to be the most negative person you can ever meet. I used to think that life is happening to me and life is there to get me. Even when I got the divorce, even when my son went through a very deep, I can say, experience with drugs, and I found myself alone there trying to deal with that, trying to raise 2 children alone. I have 2 boys, by the way. They are 22 and 21 in the college now. And to go out of all this, being a coach, helping others, working on myself, having the mindfulness to live the life on my term, I think it's what brought me here to be with you today.
Thank you, Maaza. So some people said, well, when she said Maaza has, yes, she's all gray. At least I have the privilege of seeing underneath the scarf. She's all gray, and she's not my mate. So Maaza, we're talking about talk to us about that mindfulness thing and before the bitterness, you talked about a lot about your negativity and having been so negative. What pushed you to that place, and at what point did you choose to change the narrative for yourself, and why?
I remember that as if it happened yesterday. So that was back in 2006, where it was few months after my divorce, where I discovered that my husband, my ex-husband, and my best friend were married for 3 years, and I
No,
didn't know.
sorry. You know, you need to say it loud. Did you hear that at the back? No, no. Maaza, please say that again.
Okay. So after my divorce, I discovered that my husband and one of my best friend, actually, they were married for 3 years, which means that they were married when we were still married.
And she was your best friend.
Yes, and we were working together as well. So at that time, for me, it was like, what's happening? Like, now this is double biting, like, what's happening? And I remember I sat on the beach in my car, and I was crying and crying and crying, and like, why this happening to me? Why only me? Like, I'm sure like all of us go sometimes in victim mood, life happening to me. And I remember at that time, I said, enough is enough. I'm not gonna accept this anymore. I'm not gonna accept anyone to hurt me. I need to choose myself. I didn't know how, I didn't know what I need to do, but that was the decision. And I remember that night I went and I really slept peacefully, maybe for the first time in my life. And when I got up, I went with my boys to the stationery to get their school stuff. And I remember a small, tiny book called Positive Thinking, as if somebody is turning my face every time toward that book. And one thing I need to tell you, I'm self-taught English speaker. So I didn't learn English. So that book was in English, and every time I'm looking at it, like, really, I hate reading, and in English, no, I'm not gonna buy it. But I go 2 steps and something really powerful pulling me back to look at that book. And I was like, whatever, I'll buy it. I got the book and I start reading the book, and I can say now that the shift start happening from within. When I start thinking about the things differently, when I start thinking about all what's happened already, where I saw it was a huge drama and it's a disaster, that it's a teaching point. And from here was the start for all the changes to come.
It's difficult to not be bitter. Now, when things happen to us that we think we don't deserve, and one of the things when on my coaching table, when people go, why me? I ask, why not you? If not you, then who? More like, you want it to happen to someone else. Why can't you be the person, right? But it leaves us bitter. It leaves us angry, and we all know how emotions can be deadly to our overall health. How did you get past the bitterness? Or what were the steps you took, or what particularly did you do to get past the bitterness? Or are you able to? I know of people that say, I've forgiven him, but I don't ever want to see him again, right? I remember, please forgive me to say, my husband once told me that, so why are you not talking to my ex? Say, why are you not talking to him? Say, so you people, he's an ex. If you are still angry about what he did, that means you've not left there. So what am I doing here? Right? Because what we think, we have an unconscious cell with bitterness against people that hurt us. And the thing about trauma is it doesn't come at the time you think it's going to come. something triggers it, and then you realize that there is hurt and bitterness and unforgiveness that is possibly making you communicate in a manner that could be aggressive, that could be passive aggressive, that could be hurting someone else, and then you're getting the result of how you're communicating to them, not realizing that it is the bitter cell that you've locked yourself in that you're projecting from. How did you navigate that?
Okay, like first of all, as I said, it's a journey. So it took me some time to really work on that. However, now for me, when I talk about emotions, I love to remind myself that emotions are chemicals.
Yeah.
They are not more than chemicals. And I normally remind myself as well that emotion, it's a direct feedback from your body about of the quality of your thinking. So when I feel bad, I go and check about what was I thinking, why I'm feeling this way. And when you're talking about hurting, I don't see them as people hurt us anymore. I see them as teachers. They are in my life to teach me a lesson. And it's totally up to me on how to take that lesson. And if I don't forgive them, if you really go deep, like each one of you, if you have somebody in your mind now that's saying, yeah, I forgot what they did, but I will never forgive them. If you go deep inside and check, it's not them that you don't forgive, it's yourself. So you need to heal yourself. You need to forgive yourself, because sometimes we think, how did I put myself in that situation? Why I allowed them to hurt me? And that's what makes you angry, and that's what makes you not ready to forgive. So remember, I have like this video on YouTube, and I said, not forgetting your, like anyone, it's as if you're putting poison in your food every single day, and you're wishing for the other person to die. So if you're not forgiving them, then you're not forgiving yourself and you're not helping. Another thing I like to use as a metaphor, can you all tell me when you have the heart chart, like you go and check your hearts, and when it's like this in the chart, what does it mean?
You're alive.
You're alive, right? And if it's a straight line,
You're dead.
I don't want to be dead. So my life need to be up and down.
Awesome.
It's part of the journey.
Awesome.
And that shows that I'm still alive.
Awesome. So all those people looking for a straight road to success, yeah, did. Right. So dealing, and so the topic, dealing, healing, and winning, you were one of those that were also pivotal to picking the topic dealing. How do we, because I have encountered people that are dealing, but they are hurting terribly. So they are dealing and winning, but they are hurting terribly, and they are projecting their hurt to hurt other people. So the fact that you're winning doesn't mean that all is well. Small wonder, I think one of the, I guess it's going to come up in, I would just leave it for the arts and sound team, but how is it that someone can be so happy and project so much of positivity, yet take their own lives? They are dealing and you think they're doing so well. They are getting results, they are winning, but then they still sink. Because there is need for us to not just deal and win, but heal from the hidden traumas that we can't even recognize are there. So the other day, I was driving through traffic late. I went for a meeting. I was coming back late for the first time, and I had goosebumps. I was afraid that there were hoodlums around. And typically, I drive, I was just wondering, why am I so afraid? Why? And I was just waiting to get into my compound. When I got into it, I felt peace. But because I'd learned to catch my thoughts and recognize God, thoughts become things, I'm asking myself, what exactly was making me afraid? And while I was tracking it, I relived an experience that happened so this 2023, an experience that happened in 2008, where I was coming from work somewhere under Ikeja Bridge, and I was walking home, and a street urchin was trying to get my necklace, and he hit my chest. And because of the weight was literally pulling me to the side of the bus, and a quick thought just said, the side of that bus is dark. If you get there, it could be worse. So I couldn't even scream. I don't know how I got out. But in that instant, when I remember, this was 3 weeks ago, I felt the pain again. And I tracked the dots that was a trauma that happened. That what we do is we build coping mechanisms. and we just feel we've gotten over it, but it's there. After that night, I was afraid, but I didn't deal with it. Up until I was now in a situation that looked like it, and I am afraid and literally shaking. How do we not just deal and win, but learn how to heal from the things that are buried? Sometimes we bury them unconsciously because the brain is trying to self-protect. Other times it's what we call suffering and smiling, particularly in our clients. We kind of understand that we just want to move on. How do we learn to stop, to check whether we are healed while dealing, or whether we are dealing and hurting, unconsciously hurting people, even though we think we're winning, but actually on the way to a straight line?
In my personal opinion, I think it's always start with how you deal with yourself in the first place. So again, if you're not connected with yourself from within, so forgive me, I forgot the name, like I'm not very good with names, but the speakers who were before us.
The three gentlemen.
Yes, like
Bankole, YF.
Yes, YF, I think, when, no. Bankole, when he was saying meditation.
Yes.
I believe most of the things that happen that we think that we're dealing with the stuff, but we don't deal with it because we let the circumstances deal with our life, not the other way around. We forget sometimes that it's our life. You said that these people take their lives and they're happy. They cannot be happy and take their lives, because if it's happiness coming from outside of you, then it's not a true happiness. If you have the external factors and you always, how you know that? If you find yourself always telling, I will be happy when I reach there, I'll be happy. When I achieve this, I'll be happy. When I gain that much, I'll be happy. And you'll find yourself going in this race. Every time you're achieving something, but you're still not happy and you're looking for the next one. So the happiness needs to really come within. So when stuff happening, like me personally, when something happened in my life, I give myself the freedom to live the emotion. So I don't run away from it. I don't ignore it. Emotions are there for a reason. And the difference between the person who knows that emotions are feedback about of the quality of your thinking and any other one, it will be the time you spend on that negative emotion. So if I know that something happened and I'm angry, what's wrong if I'll be angry? As long as I'm not hurting anyone, right? But I live the emotion. Something happened and I'm sad. I can live the sadness. How long? It's the one making the difference. If that there is, I don't know if majority of you, I'm 100% sure like you will know about this, but there is difference between the heart emotion and the head emotion. The heart emotion, it's happening immediately when the thing happened. But when we start analyzing it in the wrong direction, then we move from our heart to our head and we start living in our head. And from here, the things will come like, I'm an independent woman. I'm strong. I cannot show the people that I'm weak. I cannot show the people my tears. I cannot show. And from here, you really bury whatever you have. And from here, the pain will come back. But guess what? We'll get back stronger. And it really come back on, bring all its cousins and friends and, like with them, because now they will make a party. So I always remind my clients that emotion comes, be a nice person to welcome the guest, but don't give them chair to stay. Like, let it go. And as soon as you deal with your emotion, it's the time to sit and see, this is happening in my life for a reason. Why didn't it happen to my neighbor? Why didn't it happen to my mother? It happened to me in this moment for a reason. That means it's here to teach me something. We're having this saying in Quran, saying, Inna ma'al usr yusr. We're saying that with every difficult situation, there is solutions, there is ease. And it's always come with. It's not after, it's not before, it's not within, it's with. Means everything you'll see in front of you really has two sides, and you have the full choice to decide which side you would like to focus on. I like this statement from Tony Robbins when he say, when the energy, where the focus goes, the energy flows. Yeah, so you always focus on where you want to go. It's the journey, it's not the destination.
Please. Thank you, Maaza. You know, I liked when you talked about when we're saying why me and all that, emotions are feedback. And the things that happen to us as well are feedback. And I was just remembering when, so it's 6 years, January 13th was when my job anniversary, when my job loss anniversary, my job loss anniversary. That means 6 years since I lost my job. There has to be a nice name for it, my job loss anniversary, right? January 13th this year. And I remember when that happened because it was, you know, and for those that know the story, it was pretty much thinking of, you're fantastic at what you do, just like you don't fit into our way. And those were the words that haunted me for the longest of time of like, what is the way? What is it that I didn't show? Because it's okay if you know what you did and then you're being punished for it. But the worst thing is when you're not sure what you did. You don't know what you did that made that relationship fail. You don't know what you did that made you lose that business or made that transaction go wrong. And while going through that, for everyone that I spoke with, most and generally, they always say, don't worry, they were threatened by you. You were too strong for them, right? You were too strong for them. So that you were too strong for them was the feedback wanting to make me feel like a local champion. But it was a mask. I was still hurting deep because I was trying to find out, what did I do? And just by asking myself questions and being vulnerable to myself and turning the mirror, I began to track what exactly how was my relationship with these people? And I realized that there was poor communication in my manner of expression. That while many times I thought I was being assertive and confident, I was threatening a position by my choice of words and by my body language. So even though I had a good intent, it was communicating as wrong because I didn't know how to take the right posture to let the person that I am trying to collaborate with not feel threatened, but recognize that we are partners. And I'm just saying that because it is the feedback that we have to learn to, we have to learn to connect with, ask which is what unveiling reviewing is about. So unveiling, where am I? Reviewing, how did I get here? What role did I play? And I had to ask, what role did I play in this job loss? What could I have done better? What could I have done differently? What will I do moving forward? What do I need to improve? So pretty much the change that we seek often starts from us because we begin to change perspective and see things differently and engage from there, from a much stronger place than from a vindictive place of the world hates me or they are not up to me. That is why I'm too much for them. My light is shining so bright, so they want to be wearing glasses. Take off the glasses and check on yourself. You may be hurting really deeply, right? And yeah.
Yeah, I have two things to comment here. First of all, to all of you, in any communication, what do you think the responsibility goes or divided among the person who received the communication and the person who gave the message?
The responsibility.
Yes, like, is it, yeah, I'm talking with you and we're not really understanding each other. So do you think it's 80-20, 50-50? What the percentage? What do you think? 80-20? 50-50? In my opinion, it's 100-100. You need to take 100% of your way of communication. So if I'm talking with Steph and she's not getting what I'm saying, and instead of getting busy on my head and start saying, why she's not getting it? What's wrong with her? Now I'm creating negative emotions as well. And now I will lose my focus and it will be against her and maybe we'll end up fighting instead of having communication. But if I look at her and say, okay, maybe I'm not using the right words, maybe I'm not using the right things, maybe I'm not using the right body language, and I take full responsibility in that, then the communication will be smoother. So if everyone really believe that it's 100, there won't be any blaming culture. It's not you. It will always be in a good terms. And the other point about masks, and I know like most of us like wearing masks, but we women wearing masks most of the time. So you'll have this personality where you have it at work, and you have another personality with your best friends. Then you have a personality with your kids, and different personality with your husband. Like we all know that, right? But in reality, if you keep doing that and keep wearing all those masks, the only person who will be let down, or the one who will really lose, it's you. And that was one of my realization as well when I broke all the masks. Maaza in front of you now, it's the same Maaza at work, it's the same Maaza the mother, it's the same Maaza the coach. Everywhere, it's one Maaza. And that really was such a relief for me. I don't need to pretend. I don't need to wear any mask to please anyone. And my boys, like everybody was talking about the new generation. So my son, the elder one, 22, and the younger one is 21. And we have the best relationship ever. Because again, we forget who is parenting them. This is what was said, right? And I love that because it starts from home. How are you treating your kids and how you're dealing with them? You are the one who's helping on the society outside. And my relationship with my boys, like I'm their sister, I'm their friend. We have no secrets. They feel safe to come and talk to me about everything. I mentioned in the beginning about my son going on that experience with drugs. And I believe if it was not safe, we will not pass that together. And now he himself, he's 21, but he himself is a life coach and NLP practitioner. And he's there to help others. He's a very nice person, and he always there to, like, wherever he will enter, he will gain the energy of the place with his energy. But it's only when he found himself as well. So again, this is the point, and I love when we put the title for this part about mindfulness. And mindfulness, like I felt that it's one of the words that it was really misused a lot, misunderstood a lot, because people think that to be mindful, you just need to sit in a corner, close your eyes and dream. And it's deeper than that, and it's bigger than that, and it is touching that you connect within yourself. Be aware with what's happening in your life. We normally like to exaggerate. So if you see the things happening in your life in the same actual size, you know how to deal with it. But normally this is not what we do. Can I do a small exercise with them? Can I ask you to please all put your hand, your palm, on your face? Can you see your hand? Is it big or small? Big, right? Can you see the room very clearly? Okay, can you take your hand away? Keep your eyes still on it and look at your hand while it's moving away. Is it the same size? It's getting smaller, but it's the same hand. Can you see the entire room? This is your problems. When you live and keep it in front of your eyes, you cannot see any solutions, although the solutions are there. So put yourself out of the problem, then only you can find the solutions.
Thank you. Take the masks off. All I'll just say is take the masks off and live. Up until you take the mask off, you can't be the fullness of yourself. And I really connect deeply with that, because at some point, particularly when I lost my job, I thought it was because of my disposition. So before then, there was a corporate Stephanie Carey. And then there's the mother of the boys who is all happy-go-lucky and is the same disposition with my spouse as well. But when I lost the job, I was hiding both personalities, and I had 2 Instagram accounts. Stephanie Kadri was a corporate face. Steph Fred was the Steph Fred happy-go-lucky, because I thought that I would not be accepted. So when I lost my job, it made it worse. So I went deep into the pit of thinking that probably is because I'm not living to how they want me to be. After all, they said I don't fit into their way. So that not fitting probably is what the issue is. So how do I need to fit? What does fitting look like? What are the people there? What do they do? How do they talk? And I spent a long time there, but sooner enough realized that I had lost my identity, and finding it meant me reintegrating myself. Steph thought that I released a song in 2015 and I put Steph Red there. Steph Red was an alter ego. Steph Red was a singer, dancer, playful person. Stephanie Kadri was an HR professional life coach. So when I didn't want the people that knew Stephanie Kadri to meet Steph Red, because I felt they would not respect Stephanie Kadri anymore. So there was an Instagram account for Stephanie Kadri and an Instagram account for Steph Red. So when I lost my job, I thought probably they had found the Steph Red account. So I lived in fear for a long time. When I released my first single, I didn't want anybody to hear it. That was where Steph Red came, so that they would not know who has it. And I was telling the person, don't put my face there, just put the name. But losing my job was the best feedback I had, because I learned how to, that was when I integrated Stephanie Kadri and Steph Red, and I've learned to show up in my training classes. I dance and I get everybody to sing. So that is the difference I bring to the table. So who Stephanie is now, and I introduce myself, I'm Stephanie Kadri, but please call me Steph Red, because I like it is sweet, right? But then just the ability to take off the mask was the most relieving thing. It was the most fulfilling thing. It was the best thing. And whatever mask you're taking off, please, whatever mask you're wearing, please take it off and leave. Thank you, Maaza. Thank you so much. Please, can we put our hands together and give Maaza a phenomenal UR3 applause? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.